Barry Beach spent his first night in his own home after having spent the majority of his life in prison. He was convicted for the 1979 murder of Kim Nees in Poplar, Montana. Beach maintained his innocence throughout his imprisonment, and yesterday Governor Steve Bullock commuted his sentence after nearly 30 years in prison. Today, Beach sat down with Color 8's Greg Lamont to discuss where he goes now. One of the lingering questions in this case is why Beach confessed to murder. We've chosen to air the interview in its entirety when Greg asked Barry Beach that pointed question.
At the time I was going through the interrogations, what people don't know is the interrogations that the first 2 days of the interrogation process had absolutely nothing to do with Kim Nees at all. At all. Kim Nees wasn't even mentioned. It all had to do with 3 unsolved homicides in Louisiana. And it was those homicides that they promised they would convict me of. It was those homicides that they promised they would execute me for. I honestly felt that if I could get back to Montana, I would find justice. When that interrogation process took place, I had already given my fingerprints. They didn't match. I had already passed a polygraph test. I had already given my palm print, my footprints, my blood samples, none of the forensic evidence. That's what I'm talking about, that standard minimum bar of justice that our entire judicial system in the United States of America is based on. Forensic evidence. They didn't meet that standard in this case. Not on my behalf, not on behalf of Kim Nees, not on behalf of the citizens of this state did they even meet that minimum bar of the judicial criteria that our entire system is based on. But that interrogation in Louisiana had nothing to do with Kim Nees. I thought that knowing that none of that matched me, knowing that I had been through everything in the state of Montana to prove my innocence, that if I could get back to Montana, that justice would be served. That I could find somebody to help me clear my name.
So what did they offer you in return for this confession?
That they would help me clear my name in Montana.
So the interrogation switched to Kim Nees after they already understood you were not a suspect in these 3 murders in Louisiana.
Correct. But during the 4-day process of being interrogated by 7 different detectives on 4 different homicides as a 21-year-old kid, you don't process that. You don't grasp that. These individuals are trained in the techniques that they use to extract false confessions. That's what they do for a living. A 21-year-old kid walking in there thinking that as his mother taught him, as his father taught him, that if you didn't do anything wrong, you don't have anything to hide. You're supposed to cooperate with law enforcement. Greg Lamont, you're almost my age. Is that not what you were taught? Are not that the standards, the moral standards that you were taught by your family and peers when you were growing up? That if you didn't do anything wrong, you have nothing to fear from law enforcement? I was no different.
Beach will remain on parole for the next 10 years. He plans to work again in construction and remain as an employee at the clock tower.